Hey, boys and girls, Mr. Mac. Today we're gonna just do a quick little video on multiplying fractions. It's lesson 8-7, but we're going to be skipping past this because multiplying fractions we're really learning all week about that and last week as well. Excuse me. So when we multiply fractions, you're literally just multiplying straight across. So I have a couple of examples here to kind of go over with you, just to show what I mean by that by multiplying straight across. So this problem we have 5/9 times 18. Now, when you're multiplying by a whole number, we put 18 over a 1 because any whole number we have is 18 wholes, so 18 over 1. All you're doing is multiplying straight across here. So you have 5 times 18, which would be 90, and then 9 times 1 would be 9. And then when you simplify this, I think of this as division. 90 divided by 9 is equal to 10. So my answer would just be 10 there. Now, there's another strategy that we use called cross-simplifying. We look at these numbers 9 and 18, and we try to do like simplest form pretty much for 9 and 18, and we want to divide them by the largest number that we can that they both can be divided by. So 9 and 18 can both be divided by 9. So 9 divided by 9 would be 1, and 18 divided by 9 would be 2. So now I do 5 times 2, which would be 10. 1 times 1 would be 1, and it still gives me the same answer. All right, so that's a skill that's going to be very helpful for some of us. Now, some of us might look at that and say, I don't understand cross-simplifying. You don't have to cross-simplify, right? It's just a step that it might be a little easier to simplify in the beginning before we start as opposed to at the end. Now, it's not always going to work that way, right? So we look at number 7. It says 32 times 2/3. Okay, so the whole number always gets put over 1. 32 and 3 can't be simplified. There's nothing that they both have in common as a common factor. All right, so we're just going to multiply straight across. 32 times 2 is 64. 3 times 1 is 3. Now, in this last problem over here, we just said 90 divided by 9 is 10. We know that. Well, 64 divided by 3 is not something we know, so we're going to do the long division. 64 divided by 3. 3 goes into 6 2 times. Subtract. Bring down my 4. Okay. 3 goes into 4 one time, subtract. I'm running out of space here. I get a 1. Remember, my remainder is my numerator, and my denominator stays the same. So my answer would be 21 and 1/3 for this problem, okay? The next example, number 8, now we're dealing with 2 fractions. So we have 7/8, and we're multiplying that by 9/10. Now, knowing our scaling problems that we did earlier on this week, we know that our answer is going to have to be a fraction because you're multiplying a fraction by a fraction. So our answer is going to be a fraction here as well. So multiply straight across. 7 times 9 is 63. 8 times 10 is 80. Now, we look at this problem, we need to decide if we can simplify it or not. So you want to try and think of all of the factors of 63 and 80 and try and figure out the ones they have in common. Now, if they don't have anything in common, then it's in simplest form, and 63/80 would be your answer. Okay, and in this case, that is the truth, that would be your answer. All right, and then the last problem down here is just showing you multiple steps problems where it says evaluate this expression. You always do parentheses first. I'll do the problem underneath here. Okay, so we have 5/6, and we're multiplying that by the value of 16 minus 4. Well, 16 minus 4 is 12. Then I'll put that over 1, so now I'm going to multiply. Now, here's another problem where we can cross-simplify. We have 12 and 6 that are across from each other. They both can be divided by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 12 divided by 6 is 2. 5 times 2 is 10. 1 times 1 is 1. So my answer would be 10. Now, it's just a coincidence that we cross-simplified here and we got 10, and we cross-simplified here and we got 10. That is absolutely a coincidence, okay? So don't think that every time you cross-simplify, you're going to end up with 10. And also, don't think every time you cross-simplify that your denominator is going to be 1. Okay, that's not always going to be the case. It just so happens to be for these examples. If I wanted to give you an example where you could cross-simplify and not have a denominator of 1, I could say 2/3 and multiply that by 1/4, let's say. Okay, if I divide here cross-simplifying, this would become a 1, this would become a 2. So my answer could be 1/6 here. Okay. And also, when you cross-simplify, it's not always going to be that one of these ends up being a 1. It just so happens because every one of the examples we've done with cross-simplifying, one of our numbers we've been dealing with has been a factor for both. Okay. But again, multiplying fractions, guys, multiply straight across. And if you have a whole number, put a 1 underneath of it, and then multiply straight across. This is just a review video for you guys. So if you need it, hopefully this helped.